Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for...
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hope you guys had a great night last night. Hope you kicked back, relaxed, hopped on the couch, and watched the Indianapolis Colts play a little bit of football. That's what I did. That's all I did. Okay? Came home, kissed the wife, said, hey, great to see you. Let's hang out now because at 8 o'clock, I'm watching football. That's what I'm doing. Okay. The duty calls. Okay. So that's what I did. I got home, hung out, and I ended up watching that game at 8 o'clock. And I tried to tell you guys yesterday that this Anthony Richardson season, year 2, was going to be a roller coaster. And I think that we saw that happen last night. The roller coaster is officially moving now for Anthony Richardson. And, you know, he comes out first drive. He looks amazing, spectacular, ball on time, on target, 7 for 8, 65 yards, touchdown. And everyone's going crazy. Okay. All the people who have bought in on Anthony Richardson from the jump are going nuts. They're like, oh, here we go. I knew he was going to be great. And all the Anthony Richardson haters who called him a bust were like, geez, man, am I really about to be wrong about this? And then the next 3 drives happened, and now everyone doesn't know what to think, right? We're right back where we started. All the people that love Anthony Richardson are pointing at that first drive, and all the people who think that he's a bust are pointing at the last 3. But I got to be honest, I don't really care what everyday people think about Anthony Richardson. I do care, however, what Anthony Richardson thinks of how he performed. And he was asked last night in his post-game press conference, of which he didn't wear a hat at all. I wonder why. And he was asked how he thought he performed, you know, in the 4 drives that he played last night. And here's what he had to say.
Decent. Got 2 touchdowns. No, I'm joking. The interception, man, that was a tough one. You know, communication right there. Granson saw something and I saw something else. We just got to be on the same page right there. The fumble, man, they preach 2 hands on the ball in the pocket, you know, almost every day in the QB room. And I know they're going to tell me that, you know, when we get back in the meetings in the next couple of days. But I feel like it was a decent game. Just me, you know, being back out there, just filling it out.
That was Anthony Richardson, Colts starting quarterback, talking about how he performed last night. I like that he made a joke. You know, they asked him, you know, how do you think you played? I threw 2 touchdowns, you know, and everyone laughed. And, you know, I was kind of surprised that he made a joke because when you watch him up there on the podium, it is so evident that he's 22 years old. Like, it's so evident that he's just never really had to stand in front of reporters and give answers. So the fact that he made a joke tells me that he's comfortable not only at the podium talking to these people, but also in how he played. Okay, like he knows and understands that interception that he threw was simply a miscommunication. Right? That happens sometimes. Like that to me is proof as to why you have guys play in the preseason so you can iron things like that out. So I think he'll be fine. He's clearly comfortable in his own skin. He's clearly comfortable with the way that he played. The 2 big mistakes that he made and, you know, throwing the interception and the fumble, like those are things that can easily be corrected. They can easily be corrected. And Shane Steichen echoed those thoughts when he was asked the same question. Shane Steichen, what did you think about how Anthony Richardson played in that game?
I thought it was good. Like I said, the first drive was really good. There's some miscommunication stuff on one of the plays. But to get him out there again, like I said, running around with those guys and getting that, you know, quarter and a half, it was great to see. You saw the explosiveness that he had on the first drive, made some really good throws. I think he was 7-8 on that first drive. So it was great to get him out there.
Shane Steichen there talking about Anthony Richardson and how he thought he performed last night. And, you know, the first drive was the peak. Okay, that was peak Anthony Richardson. Okay, like that is, you know, if he's everything that everybody dreams of, he'll look like that on every single drive. Confident, standing in the pocket, delivering the football on time, on target. It was impressive. And there were a couple of plays in particular that I thought really stood out. I thought the best play he made on any of the drives, 3rd and 10 on that first drive, he hard counts, right? Guy shows blitz. He identifies it, slides the protection, audibles to a quick hitter to Alec Pierce, snap, catch, throw. Alec Pierce, he catches it, and then he scampers for a first down. It was beautiful. Okay, when that happened, that got me more excited than anything else. I'm sitting down on the couch, and I'm like, oh, that was so great. And, I love my wife. She is much more of a basketball fan than she is a football fan. And she's sitting there, she's watching with me, and she's like, what happened? And I was like, oh, he hard counted, and they showed blitz, and he audibled, and it was beautiful. Like, that is what starting caliber quarterbacks look like. That is the thing that we all want and need to see him do throughout this season. I don't know if that's something that he would have been able to do last year, right? But being able to stand at the line of scrimmage and identify blitz, and it was impressive. It was awesome. So, like, that 3rd and 10 play, I thought was hands down his best play of the night. The touchdown pass to A.D. Mitchell was good. Cincinnati blitzed. He stayed in the pocket. He maneuvered the pocket well, right? Because he obviously moved. But a lot of times with young quarterbacks, what you'll see is when there's a blitz, they'll just leave the pocket immediately. He didn't do that. He stood in the pocket, maneuvered around a little bit, bought a little extra time, worked his way all the way across the field back to A.D. Mitchell, and he hit him in stride. It was great. Okay, like that first drive was beautiful. Okay, the touchdown pass was good. Converted a couple 3rd and longs. Like, it was great. It really was. It was fun to watch. 7 of 8. 65 yards and a touchdown. He was accurate when throwing the ball. He made good decisions. It was good. It was awesome. But here's the thing. A lot of quarterbacks look good on scripted plays. A lot of quarterbacks look good early in the game when, you're meeting up with the offensive team and they're like, we're going to run these plays in order. This is going to set up this, and this is going to set up this, right? And it worked really well for the Colts, and he looked great on that first drive. Hopefully that's something that we can continue to see from him as the year progresses on. Like, that is the Anthony Richardson that we all want and need to see in order for this Colts team to make the playoffs or potentially even win the division. From that point on, from that first drive on, Anthony Richardson looked like a quarterback that had only started 23 games in his life before last night. Okay, 23 starts from high school until now. That is what it said on the broadcast yesterday. 6 starts in high school, 13 starts in college, and then 4 starts last year. This guy hasn't played a lot of football. Okay, and that is what I said yesterday. From a pure experience standpoint, he is far behind a lot of these other quarterbacks that are coming into the NFL in terms of experience. And I think one of the worst things for Anthony Richardson this year is that Bo Nix is going to be good. Okay, like, that is something that, Colts fans are going to point to. Like, why isn't Anthony Richardson better? Bo Nix is a rookie, and he looks great for the Denver Broncos. Okay, that's something that people are going to point to. Well, there's one glaring difference between, there's 2 glaring differences between Bo Nix and Anthony Richardson. One, Bo Nix is 2 years older than Anthony Richardson. And second, Bo Nix started twice as many games in college than Anthony Richardson has in his entire life. Bo Nix should be better right now. Okay, Anthony Richardson was not a short-term investment. He is a long-term investment quarterback. Okay, where, Shane Steichen's going to have to coach him up a lot and help him a lot. And Jim Bob Cooter is going to have to invest and help bring him along, right? Because Anthony Richardson hasn't played a lot of football. He hasn't, right? And there is a possibility where what we saw on that first drive from him last night becomes who he is, where that is what we consistently see. Like, that is in the realm of possibilities. And if that happens, then obviously this Indianapolis Colts offense is going to be electric with him under center. Okay, Kirk Herbstreit made a great point last night on the broadcast. He's one of my favorite guys to listen to. I think he does a fantastic job for both college football and the NFL. He made a great point last night. Great point. The quarterback run game was unavailable last night. Okay, like that wasn't even an option. It was pretty clear that he told Anthony, hey, man, don't run. We're not calling any quarterback runs. We're not doing anything like that. And that will obviously change once the regular season hits. They'll take all the guardrails off and they're going to let him go and do, whatever he thinks that he needs to do in order for them to win. And when that quarterback run game becomes available, there's a little bit of risk there, right, with the injury history that Anthony Richardson has. But at the same time, it will only enhance the offense. It will only make the offense better. And it wasn't an option last night. Okay, it was nice sitting back, watching him stand in the pocket and deliver the ball on time and on target without being allowed to run, because there are going to be situations throughout the regular season where that is what's demanded of him. And it was nice to see him do it on that first drive last night. After that, though, the mistakes weren't great. The mistakes were not great at all. The interception doesn't bother me even a little bit. Okay, he and Kylan Granson had a miscommunication. That is, once again, why you play players in the preseason. Okay, so you can iron out little kinks like that. Okay, they'll go in, they'll watch film. Granson and Richardson, they'll sit together and be like, I saw this, and Granson will be like, but I saw this. And then they'll figure out which one was right. And hopefully we won't see that mistake again. Okay, this is something that they should be able to bounce back from. I'm not worried about it at all. The fumble, you heard Anthony Richardson allude to it in that audio clip that I played. He's told to keep two hands on the ball. He didn't. I promise you that they're going to sit down and film. They're going to yell at him like, hey, man, keep two hands on the ball like we keep telling you to do. And then from there, he'll be like, all right, you know what? You're right. And then from there, he'll put two hands on the ball, and it won't be an issue anymore. Okay, so those two big mistakes, not worried about them. Those are things that are easily fixable. Some of the missed throws, however, were bad. They were bad. He left one low to Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. should have caught it. It went through his arms, but it also should have been thrown better. Okay, it should have been. And look, this is part of having a guy like Anthony Richardson as your quarterback. You have to have receivers that can make plays on balls that aren't thrown very well. Okay, so like that ball that he threw low to Michael Pittman Jr. should have been caught, right? Should have been thrown better for sure, but it should have been caught. He overthrew A.D. Mitchell when he was open. Okay, you know, Steichen, I don't have the audio for it, but Steichen in his post-game presser said that A.D. Mitchell ran the route a little wrong. He should have ran it a little bit deeper, and then he gave a bunch of football explanation that I don't really understand. And so, like, the throw was, like, it was on A.D. Mitchell, but either way, like, the dude was open. Like, that's a throw you have to step into and make, right? And these are the throws that he has to hit. Those are the misses that are concerning, not the miscommunication that led to an interception. Okay, like that doesn't bother me. Okay, like that is not the alarming thing that happened last night. The alarming thing is him missing some of the easier throws that NFL quarterbacks should hit. Okay, I thought his best throw of the day, though, was not on that first drive. It was the 21-yard completion up the seam to Kylan Granson. That ball was beautifully thrown, right on the money, right? You know, and part of it, too, is he hadn't had a completion in forever. The fact that that was the ball that he completed was kind of surprising, right? But it was nice seeing him have the ability to bounce back and play well after throwing an interception and after having, you know, a lull of incompletion. So I thought Anthony Richardson, all in all, played decently well last night. And when I'm watching him, especially young quarterbacks in the preseason, like guys are going to miss throws. Like it happens. What I want to see, though, how was the decision making? And I thought ultimately Anthony Richardson made good decisions with the football. And Anthony Richardson gave, you know, an answer yesterday in his post-game press conference that shows us why he made good decisions with the football.
I would say I'm a little bit more relaxed. You know, I'm not pressing to do anything. You know, I'm not trying to be the superhero when I'm out there. I'm just trying to execute and do my job. You know, because I know I got great teammates on this team, and I know they're gonna make plays. So I just got to do my job the best way I can. I just feel a lot more comfortable just on the team and just in general. You know, I love it here.
That was Anthony Richardson talking about just differences he feels from last year to this year, and he is clearly more comfortable. And he is clearly not trying to do too much whenever he was in the game, right? You know, he had a couple plays where he took the checkdowns as opposed to trying to force it deep downfield. And that's great. Like, that is such an important thing for him, right? Because, you know, people call him a superhero and people expect for him to be able to be Superman and to put the cape on and be awesome with the big arm and the ability to run. And that's not what's always going to be required of him. Sometimes he's going to be asked to just hit the 5-yard check down and lived to see 3rd and 3. Okay. And so seeing him relaxed last night in the pocket, I thought that was pretty clear. And seeing him consistently make the right decisions, that was encouraging. But here's the thing, though. Here's the truth of it. Even though Richardson consistently made the right decisions last night, and I would argue that that is the most important thing that we see from Anthony Richardson, because you can improve your accuracy. But even though he made the right decisions, people are still going to be worried about the lack of accuracy that he showed last night. And look, I know a lot about football. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, though, that I know more than Shane Steichen. And Shane Steichen is clearly not at all worried about the lack of accuracy that Anthony Richardson showed last night.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys are going to miss throws. You know what I mean? Guys are going to miss throws. I don't care if you're a second-year player or a 15-year vet. Like, guys are going to miss throws. So I don't have any concerns with that.
No concerns whatsoever. And that was not a bullcrap answer. It wasn't a bullcrap answer at all. And he's right. Guys are going to miss throws. Go watch the Bills play. Go watch the Chiefs play. Go watch whoever play. And you're going to see Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and all these guys miss throws from time to time. And I've listened to so many Shane Steichen press conferences, so many of them. And he's really boring, which is good. I like it. I like that he doesn't run his mouth and talk a ton. Okay. Usually he shows no emotion whatsoever. And I don't know if you caught it, but he's starting to answer the question and he kind of scoffs. Like, why is this guy asking me this? This question is so incredibly stupid. That's what it communicated to me, at least. This little scoff of like what a stupid question. Guys miss throws all the time. Okay, Shane Steichen clearly not at all worried about it. And look, if Shane Steichen's not worried about it, I'm not worried about it either then. Okay, he's right. Guys miss throws sometimes. Do you want to see him miss that many throws? I don't know. I would say probably not. But, this is, the world that we live in. Like, believe it or not, it's hard to complete a pass in the NFL. So, all in all, I thought Shane Steichen. I thought that Anthony Richardson looked good throwing the football last night. Could it have been better? Sure. But it definitely could have been a lot worse. We saw the peak. We saw what the best version of Anthony Richardson looks like in terms of his throwing ability. That was encouraging. And we also saw what some of the reservations were on him coming into the season, right? Missing a couple throws here and there. All in all, though, I thought he played well. I got more on the Colts and their performance last night coming your way here in about 4 minutes. Top of the hour, 11 o'clock. Shehan Jayarajah of CBS Sports. He's going to join me to talk a little college football. Week 0 starts tomorrow, so I wanted to touch on that. That's coming up top of the hour. But in 4 minutes, Colts preseason game number 3. More thoughts on that when we come back here in 4 minutes.
Unadulterated sports talk with unfiltered takes. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket as we continue to work through the Colts game last night. We saw the starters for a whole quarter and a half. Anthony Richardson looked great on that first drive. Looked outstanding. Outstanding. Right? And then after that, it was, he looked like a guy who'd only started 23 games in his career. And so, up and down, that's what this season's going to be from him. And that's pretty normal for second-year quarterbacks. I know we're in this, era of Patrick Mahomes where he was good right away, but it's usually not what happens to most rookie quarterbacks. It usually takes them a little bit of time, and you need other positions. You need other positions to help kind of elevate your quarterback. And I thought that for the most part last night, the Colts' other positions did just that on the offensive side of the football. The offensive line looked dominant for the most part, right? And they should have, right? Because once again, they're playing against backups and all those things. Okay, on the run plays, they seem to generate a good push consistently. Right now, they are still playing against professionals, so there are going to be moments where, guys on the other side do win, even if they are backups. Okay, so I thought that the offensive line, though, I thought they looked really good. Okay, the run, they seem to consistently generate a pretty good push. And, like we saw the Colts run the ball pretty effectively last night, 37 carries for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. I would argue that that's pretty good. Okay, and that's obviously both starters and backups. I thought Jonathan Taylor looked good. They didn't give him a ton of carries, but I thought that the carries that he did get, he looked like Jonathan Taylor. Okay, it's hard to really get a full gauge on, how he's going to look during the regular season because he didn't play too much during the preseason, but I thought that the little tidbits that we saw here and there, he looked good. Alec Pierce played well with the starters, right? Anthony Richardson found him twice, for 31 yards. He looked good. Anthony Gould with the backups, four receptions for 25 yards, like consistently got open. Like that is something that you want to see from slot guys. Adonai Mitchell, obviously with the touchdown reception, he looked good. Kylan Granson, I think, is a guy that we're going to see a lot this year. Anthony Richardson clearly comfortable with that guy. So offense, all in all, I thought it looked well, but the defense is always going to be the concerning thing with this team. Look, they only gave up 14 points. I get it was against the Bengals backups, but either way, I think that what you wanted to see from this Colts defense playing against backups is exactly what we saw. The defensive line for the Colts dominated. I mean, they absolutely crushed the Bengals backups, and that's exactly what we should expect, considering that Chris Ballard has invested a ton in this defensive line. Okay, look, I said it a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. I don't remember. You get what you pay for. Okay, and look, the Colts have not paid for a good secondary, so the secondary is going to be a little bit worse, but they have paid for a good defensive line. They have invested draft picks and money into that front four, right? And so because of that, that is going to be the strength of this team, and that was on full display last night. The sack that Leatu Latu had was awesome. I wrote it down. I just wrote Latu sack 1 quickly. The ball was snapped and he was in the backfield. I mean, it was incredibly impressive, that sack from him. Once again, against the backup, I know, but still, man, that's what you want to see from your first round selection against a backup. You want to see them totally dominate, and that's exactly what he did. DeForest Buckner played last night. I thought he played well. Kwity Paye dominated off the edge. I mean, really, all of the defensive linemen for the Colts had their way with this Bengals backup offensive line. Latu, though, man, when he comes off that edge, man, he is so incredibly fast. Man, it was impressive, right? And once again, they're playing against the Bengals backups. So this is what we should have seen, right? And so, the defensive line I thought was awesome. Nick Cross got the start at safety alongside Julian Blackman. He was quiet, which is fine with me. Okay, I think they had him playing free safety last night. That's what I'm assuming based off the idea that they had him deeper than Julian Blackman. Like Julian Blackman was down by the line of scrimmage a decent amount more than Nick Cross was. So like when you're playing free safety, you're not going to have as many tackles. Okay, I don't want to hear your name called if you're playing free safety because that usually means that you're doing the job, you're not getting beat deep, and you're keeping everything in front of you, and that is what the free safeties should do. So I thought he played well. The defensive line was good. The linebackers they're solid options, right? Like I'm not Zaire Franklin or EJ Speed's biggest fans, but they have, they're good. They're solid options. And I thought that what we saw from the Colts defense last night, like that is the formula for them to get stops. This defensive line just kind of having their way with whoever's trying to block them. Okay, like that dominance that we saw. Look, it won't be to that level when they're playing against other team starters, but we have to see some semblance of that. Something similar where it's like, geez, that defensive line looks dominant and tough. They're deep, right? So, they're going to rotate 8 guys in and out. So they may not have a double-digit sack guy this year, but if they're a top 5 team in the league in sacks, then I think that this Colts defense will be perfectly fine. Okay, and hopefully Anthony Richardson looks like he did on that first drive as opposed to what he did the last 3. Because if he does, and the defensive line really is that good, then they will have no issues whatsoever in getting stops and hopefully winning some games. Once again, if Anthony Richardson can look like how he did on that first drive. Other stuff going on. Tomorrow, college football starts, and I want to talk about that. Once again, Shehan Jayarajah is set to join me top of the hour, 11 o'clock. He covers college football for CBS Sports. I've had him on once before. Great guy, great energy. Excited to talk about the Big Ten with him. So that's going to be fun. Once again, that's top of the hour, 11 o'clock. College football starting tomorrow. But the Indiana Fever and the Caitlin Clark saga also continues tomorrow night. 8 o'clock, NBA TV. The Indiana Fever going on the road to take on the Minnesota Lynx. I can't wait. Drama is coming. It has to show up because it's the WNBA, and that's all that we get with the WNBA is more and more drama, and I don't mind it. I quite frankly tend to enjoy it now. It's kind of fun to listen to these women kind of get upset at each other. It's I've never been a big housewives show watcher, but I don't mind it. Like I might have to now, right? Because the pettiness and the drama. It's entertaining. It is. And look, we all know that the Minnesota Lynx head coach was the Olympic head coach. And she has famously said that she doesn't give, a crap. She didn't say crap, though, about Caitlin Clark not being on the Olympic team. Okay. And that Caitlin Clark is highly competitive. That she remembers that. That the Lynx remember the Fever coming into their building and beating them before the Olympic break and all the buzz that got. So, that game tomorrow night, I think, is going to be very intense, and I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be quite the spectacle. Something else that starts tomorrow, college football, week 0. I love college football. I want IU to be good at football so bad because if they're good at football, I get to talk more about college football, which is something that I love. Week 0 is upon us. Once again, Shehan Jayarajah is set to join me at 11 o'clock. Zack Gray, sports gambling expert. He's joining me at 11:40 as he usually does on Fridays, and he's going to start giving out picks and things of that nature. So that's going to be incredible. Week 0 is upon us. There's really only one game that is like, ooh, I really feel like I need to watch that, and that is Florida State playing against Georgia Tech. The game's on at noon. They're playing that game all the way out in Dublin. That's going to be so much fun. Georgia Tech, for my non-college football watchers, no longer run that triple option. Okay, like that's not what they do anymore. They play normal football. So that game should be fun to watch. The rest of the games, don't really care for them. It's like New Mexico taking on Montana State and things like that. I got to be honest, I'm just glad that football is back on my television. Okay, like that is really the thing that makes me excited. The weather, it's getting cooler. Football's back on the TV. About to start making like chili mac and all sorts of stuff. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Football season is almost back. We are 16 days away from the Colts season opener against the Houston Texans. I know that's the thing that we're all really waiting for, but this little appetizer of college football these next 2 weekends is going to be really nice. It is. Tomorrow night also SMU takes on Nevada. That game could be fun. SMU is a sleeping giant in the world of college sports. They're in Dallas, Texas with a boatload of money. Boatload of money. So that's a school that is very quickly on the rise. Once again, I've got Shehan Jayarajah joining me at the top of the hour to talk college football week 0 and just the season really as a whole. I've also got Funless Friday that is centered around college football. My Funless Friday for today is things I hope to see this college football season. I will give that list to you when we come back here in 4 minutes.
More winners, more often. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Colts played last night. Anthony Richardson, one good drive, then 3 not so good drives. It's okay, though. Young quarterback, slowly but surely developing. College football starts tomorrow. So for Funless Friday, I did things I hope to see this college football season. And to start the list, I have to go to IU being relevant. Okay, college football is a great product. Okay, it's truly amazing. Okay, the stories are great. The coaches are great. It's incredible. And it's something that non-Notre Dame fans in Indiana are really missing out on. Okay, because, Notre Dame's ranked high every year. And, it's part of that because they never play anybody, yes. And then when they do play somebody, it doesn't go very well. They usually get their doors blown off. And it makes me smile because teams like Notre Dame and Penn State that are overrated every year, it's just nice to see myself being correct. It is. It's nice. And that's probably what's going to happen this year. Notre Dame plays an incredibly soft schedule, softer than a new pillow. And, they're going to go 11-1, 12-0. They'll make the college football playoff. And then they'll play a real team, and then they'll probably get their doors blown off because that's just who Notre Dame is. And so, anyway, sorry, I got a little off track there. But I want IU to be relevant. I want the Indiana Hoosier football team to be relevant. I want Kurt Cignetti to come in and find success and hitting the over and winning 6 games. Like, that's not the kind of success I'm talking about. Like, let's go 8-4. Let's go 9-3. Let's create some real excitement for college football for this Indiana fan base because it is truly an amazing, amazing product that everyone should get to experience and be a part of. Like, some of my most memorable falls have been when the Arkansas Razorbacks were good at football. That's not going to happen this fall. They're going to be terrible. I'm going to dread it probably, but I'm still going to sit down and watch every game because college football is just simply an amazing, amazing product. So IU, I want so badly to be relevant this year, just so I have an excuse to talk about college football because college football is interesting. The playoff expansion is interesting. The conference realignment is interesting. Right? Change, I always find it to be incredibly interesting, and that's something that I want for, Indiana fans to get a little bit of a taste of. The next thing that I hope to see this college football season is for the College Football Playoff Committee to pay attention to something more than just records. I think that when you look at the history of the College Football Playoff, the top 4 teams, they just go based off of record. Like if you're a Power 5 team and you go undefeated, or you're Notre Dame and you go undefeated, they put you in. That's just what happens. And I would like for teams that have softer schedules to be punished for it. I don't think that that's going to happen. I really don't, because I look at, Notre Dame and Penn State. Those are just kind of the first 2 teams that come to mind. When, in looking at them, they have maybe 2 tough games, and that's really it. And I just think that if you're going to be put in something like the college football playoff, something that should be an exclusive club, it's not anymore because they're putting 12 teams in. But if you're going to make something that is important, then you should have proved it. Okay, like Penn State, they play USC, and then I think they play Ohio State or Michigan, right? One of those 2 teams. Everyone else is like a cupcake, though. They're going to win the rest of their games by 3 touchdowns, and it won't be close, right? And so my thing is, if they lose the game to USC and they lose the game to Michigan or Ohio State, whoever that other tough game is, I don't think they should get in. I think that you should have to have something on your resume that shows that you're capable of beating the best teams in the country. And so I would like for the playoff committee to weigh more than just records. I would like for them to weigh the strength of schedule, which is something that they haven't done, and I don't think that they're going to start doing that this year. The next thing I hope to see Colorado lose every single game that they play. I can't stand Colorado. I can't stand the hype around Colorado. I don't like the way that Deion Sanders is running that program. I really don't. Okay, it's all about transfers, and they aren't coaching. It's kind of alarming. Seriously. I mean, geez, it's brutal. Just all the stories coming out of Colorado. And, Ryan Burr went on Dan's show yesterday. I believe it was Ryan Burr who said this. and said that that's going to be a really ugly divorce when Colorado eventually fires Deion Sanders. And it's coming. Like, they went 4-8 last year. They aren't going to be much better this year. They're going to play FCS hopeful North Dakota State, and they're going to get their doors blown off by an FCS school. And then, once that happens, people are going to start going nuts. Absolutely nuts. And I can't wait for it. Okay, like that Deion Sanders Colorado story is always going to be fascinating because it's Deion Sanders, and he in and of himself is a big brand. So, but either way, I hope Colorado loses every game that they play this year. I also hope that Alabama continues to be good, which is weird coming from an SEC fan. I just think that college sports, basketball, baseball, football, whatever, in college sports, when the Blue Bloods are good, it just makes it more interesting. Okay, like when Indiana is good at basketball, it's great for college basketball. When Kentucky is good at basketball, it's great for college basketball. When UCLA is good at basketball, it's great for college basketball. That same principle applies for college football. Okay, like when Alabama's good, it's great for college football. When Notre Dame is good, it's great for college football. Okay, when Ohio State and Michigan are good, it's great for college football. Right? When the Blue Bloods play well and they're competing for national championships, more people watch. It's the Yankees effect on baseball. When the Yankees are good, Major League Baseball ratings tend to go up. Right? That's just kind of the way that it works. And when we look at the Blue Bloods of college football, it's been Alabama for the entire time that Nick Saban was there, except for that first year when they went like 6-6. Okay, so for the success of college football, I hope that Kalen DeBoer gets things rolling down there in Tuscaloosa. I hope they play well every week of the year this year because they don't play my Arkansas Razorbacks. So hopefully Alabama continues to roll along because college football is just so much more enjoyable when everyone has a collective team to hate. Sports are at their best when there is a villain. Sports are at their best when there is a designated team that people don't like. That's part of why the NFL, I think, has worked really well over the past, 20 years. Okay, people hated Tom Brady, and when he was in New England, everyone hated the New England Patriots. And now everyone hates the Kansas City Chiefs. Right? That's just kind of the way that sports work. It's better when there's a villain. Alabama has been the villain in college football for a long time, and I hope that they continue to be that. I would also like to see an intense Heisman race. Okay, the Heisman Trophy is obviously a very prestigious award. And there's nothing better than watching two dudes on separate teams, not that haven't played against each other, both have outstanding years, and just watching them go back and forth, trading blows on who's having the better game and who is eventually going to beat the other one out to be the, Heisman Trophy winner, right? There's nothing quite like that. The other thing that I want to see is good college football playoff games. Like this is the last thing on the list. Look, the 14 playoff, most of the games haven't been good. We had 30 college football playoff games, when we had the 14 format. Only 11 of those 30 games have finished as 2-score games or less. Okay, so 14-point games or closer. Only 11 of them finished that close, which that's not very many. Okay, that is significantly less than half. We've seen more blowouts than close games in this college football playoff era so far. Georgia beat TCU 65-7 a couple years ago. Alabama beat Michigan State 38-0 one year. Clemson beat Notre Dame 30-3 one year. LSU beat Oklahoma 63-28 one year. Okay, hopefully the college football playoff games are better this year. I doubt it, given that it's going to be the 5th best team in the country against the best group of 5 team as the 12th seed. That game won't be close. 6 versus 11 probably won't be close. 7 versus 10, 9 versus 8, those games might be close, but even once they advance and they're playing against one of the 4 best teams, none of those games will be close because college football, the gap between teams is super, super great. Okay, they're canyons wide when it comes to differences between the great teams and the really good teams. So that is my college football 2024-2025 season. Things I hope to see. Shehan Jayarajah is set to join me at 11 o'clock. I'm going to run this list by him, ask him some questions about the Big Ten. Should be a great time. Shehan covers college football for CBS Sports. He's set to join me here in about 13 minutes, top of the hour. Before he joins me, though, I want to go back to what happened last night. Anthony Richardson. Oh, man, he's quite the figure. No doubt about that. That cannot be argued. Look, that first drive, man, I know all the people out there that have labeled him as a bust were sweating bullets. They're like, geez, if he looks like this for a full quarter and a half, what am I going to do tomorrow? And he looked great in that first drive. And like, that is peak Anthony Richardson. Okay. Like that first drive, he was in full command of the offense. His best play came on 3rd and 10, hard count, identifies the blitz, slides protection, audibles, hits Alec Pierce, who then runs for a first down. Like I thought that was his best play. He looked like a starting quarterback in control of an NFL offense on that play, right? Converted multiple 3rd and longs. Like it was a greatly impressive first drive. It really was. He looked like a legitimate NFL quarterback on that first drive. I thought that the touchdown pass was impressive. Cincinnati blitzed. He bought time, found A.D. Mitchell underneath, who then powered his way into the end zone. It was great. It was great. It was a great first drive, 7 of 8 for 65 yards and a touchdown with good accuracy. Not going to say great accuracy, but for the most part, good accuracy and great decision-making. I didn't think that he made any bad decisions last night in terms of where he went with the football. But after that first possession, he looked like a quarterback that had only started 23 games in his life before last night. Okay, 23 starts from high school until yesterday. Not good. Like, and this goes into what I said yesterday. Like, he's behind where most quarterbacks are when they enter the NFL. He just is, okay? And we're going to sit back and we're going to watch the Broncos play this year, and we're going to hear about how great Bo Nix looks. And, you know, people that don't like Anthony Richardson are going to get all up in arms about it. But here's the thing. Bo Nix started twice as many games in college than Anthony Richardson has in his entire life. Okay, like Bo Nix should be better right now because he's just played more quarterback than Anthony Richardson has. Okay, Anthony Richardson was a long-term investment. Okay, he was a draft him early because he has all the tools that we want, and let's develop him. That is ultimately why Shane Steichen was hired. He is supposed to be able, or he is expected to, develop Anthony Richardson into a high-level NFL quarterback. He is a long-term investment, right? And if he reaches a point where he can consistently play the way that he did on that first drive last night, then the Colts are going to have a great offense this year, and they're going to score a whole bunch of points. Okay? And I get it, Jonathan, it was against the backups. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Trust me, I know that it was against backups. Okay? But on that first drive, he looked how he should look against the backups. Okay? And then, you know, as I said, from that point on, things weren't great. They weren't. The mistakes he made were bad. The thing, though, like the interception doesn't bother me at all. He and Kylan Granson clearly had some sort of miscommunication. They had an option route. Anthony Richardson thought he would cut in. Kylan Granson cut out. And it was an interception. It happens. Okay, like that's why you play in the preseason, to iron things like that out. To figure out, oh, okay, you saw this, so when you see that, you're going to do this instead. Okay, they'll sit down and film today or tomorrow or whenever they do film, and they'll iron that out. Like that's not a super big mistake as far as I'm concerned. And the other thing is, like we didn't even see the Colts' full offense last night. They clearly told Anthony Richardson, hey man, do not run. Okay, don't run. Stay in the pocket. Throw the football. We'll start to use the quarterback run game when the games actually matter, right? And Kirk Herbstreit brought that up last night on the broadcast. And that quarterback run game is only going to help this offense. And that was, you know, a third part of the offense that wasn't even an option last night. It wasn't. So the interception doesn't bother me. The fumble doesn't really bother me. Okay, he should have had 2 hands on it. That's a very easy fix. Okay, I thought that the big mistakes, the interception, the fumble, the big mistakes that Anthony Richardson made last night are easily correctable. Okay, the stuff, though, that is bothersome is that he missed some throws. Okay, you know, sailed one to A.D. Mitchell, underthrew one to Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. should have caught it. Okay, it hit him in the arms, and he, you know, tough catch, sure, but The Colts just extended you and gave you a whole bunch of money. Like that's a catch that you have to make. Okay. And those are the throws that Anthony Richardson has to make. Like that ball that Michael Pittman Jr. dropped should have been thrown better, but it also should have been caught. Okay. Like those are the things that are, I would say, concerning. But even though we're all going to make a big deal out of the lack of accuracy, Colts head coach Shane Steichen isn't worried about it in the slightest. Here's what Steichen had to say about Anthony Richardson's accuracy last night.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys are going to miss throws. You know what I mean? Guys are going to miss throws. I don't care if you're a second-year player or a 15-year vet. Like, guys are going to miss throws. So I don't have any concerns with that.
Shane Steichen there saying that he doesn't have any concerns with Anthony Richardson's inaccuracy last night. He scoffed at the question. That's my favorite part about this. He's like, that is such a stupid question. Like, why would you even ask me that? And he's right. Guys are going to miss throws. Lamar Jackson misses throws. Josh Allen misses throws. Patrick Mahomes misses throws. Like, it happens sometimes. It does. Like, it's believe it or not, it's hard to complete passes in the NFL. Okay, guys miss throws just like how basketball players miss wide open shots sometimes. It happens. Okay, and it especially happens to quarterbacks that have only started 23 games in their entire life. All right, and all of a sudden they're playing in the NFL. Okay, like Anthony Richardson's going to be up and down this year. Okay, like that is just the reality of it. He's not Andrew Luck. He's not Peyton Manning. He didn't start 40 games in college. He started 13. Okay, the lack of experience, the lack of having to stand in the pocket and throw the ball, like he's going to miss throws and he's going to miss opportunities. If you're expecting for Anthony Richardson to look like how Peyton Manning did in his second year in the NFL, you're going to be highly disappointed. Okay? Expectations for Anthony Richardson simply need to be lower because he hasn't played that much football. He hasn't. Okay? And that is just the reality of what the Colts are dealing with this season. Okay? And the season starts in 16 days, September 5th. Chiefs, Ravens, college football season starts tomorrow. So Shehan Jayarajah of CBS Sports, who covers college football for them, he's set to join me here in 5 minutes to preview the upcoming college football season. Cannot wait for that. Shehan Jayarajah joins me in 5 minutes on Indy Sports Ticket, The Real Jonathan Smith Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for...
It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
What's going on? It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to tune in to the show. We're going to take a little break from talking Indianapolis Colts football. We're going to move over to college football because week 0 is tomorrow. Joining me from CBS Sports, he covers college football, Shehan Jayarajah joins the show. Shehan, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I was doing my research last night to get ready for the interview, and I saw that you predicted for my Arkansas Razorbacks to finish 14th in the SEC, and I almost canceled.
I get it. Their path is really tough. I think that Stanton is probably on the hottest seat right now in college football, but you know what? I'd love to be proven wrong.
Hey, man, I hope you're wrong too, man. You're probably not. It's like you said, they got a tough road ahead of them this year, but it's all good. So this is obviously the first year with the expanded playoff. We've got a lot of conference realignments, and with the expanded playoff comes, we're going to have a group of 5 team in this year, probably as the 12 seed. Who are some of the better group of 5 teams just to kind of keep our eye on this year as we head into the start of the season?
Well, I think number 1 for me has to be Boise State. They came back from a really slow start to the 2023 season with an interim coach, ended up going and winning the Mountain West. They bring back a lot of really good production, led by running back Ashton Genty and defensive lineman Ahmed Hassanian. So, they, to me, are just potentially half a step above the rest of the Mountain West. There's a little bit of transition in that league. You see at Fresno State, they lose their head coach to illness. So it's just, I think, a pretty wide open slate for them to be able to get through. They do play Oregon in week 2. That's going to be a tough game. And they can't get embarrassed in that game. They can't get libertied, I guess you could say, in that game. But if they compete well, I think that they have a really good shot to be that number 1 team. But also, I look around the rest of college football. I mean, certainly I mentioned Liberty, right? Their pathway to 13-0 is easily the easiest of the group. If they go 13-0, I think that the committee is still going to be a little wary of them after what happened last season. But if it's, again, a 2-loss team versus a 0-loss team, Liberty has a really good chance to come through.
Okay, that's kind of – I'd heard a lot of Liberty. You're the first person I've heard mention Boise State. Does their starting quarterback from last year, who I believe was the Mountain West Freshman of the Year, does him transferring away, does that bring along any sort of concern?
Yeah, it's certainly a little bit of a weird situation, right? Actually, Taylon Green, he transferred, of course, to your Arkansas Razorbacks. Right. I think he's going to be a good player there. And by the way, right in my backyard in Louisville, Texas. But I think that when you look at this Boise State team, they're a team that really is led by its defense. Offensively, I think they're going to do some nice stuff. Again, I mentioned Genty. He's one of the best running backs in the country. I think that he's going to keep things trucking along. They've got some really interesting talent on the offensive line at some of the skill position spots. They did decide. I think this is an indication of how small they view the margin of error. They actually did not start Malachi Nelson, the 5-star transfer at quarterback. They're going with Maddox Madsen, who is a 3rd-year player for them there. Looks pretty good in some spots last year, and also a little bit more of a runner than what you might see from Malachi Nelson. So I do think that they're going to be able to do enough on the offensive side of the ball. I think Green gave them a little bit more dynamic ability, but this is a team that's going to be really characterized by its defense more than anything else.
Joined by Shehan Jayarajah of CBS Sports, talking a little college football with week 0 starting tomorrow. So the Big Ten, I did a big thing on it earlier in the week. And as I was, reading through different articles, trying to get, the feel on how a lot of people were viewing the Big Ten, I think USC is underrated. I know that their schedule is a little bit tougher than some of these other Big Ten teams, obviously playing LSU early. But my thought process is, as long as Lincoln Riley is your head coach, you're going to score a lot of points. I don't care who's playing quarterback. He's scored with everybody. That, to me, is going to allow them to win games at home and on the road. What are kind of your thoughts on USC heading into, the first year we're going to see Lincoln Riley without Caleb Williams in the last 3 years?
No, I think that people really did overreact in some ways to the 2023 season. This is a coaching staff that's won 10 games every single year and really 11 games every single year outside of the pandemic season where they still went 9-2 and won and then your sixth game. Like, I think that this is a team that's being undervalued. What's going to be fascinating about them is I think the way that they're going to try to structure their team heading into the Big Ten is just going to be a little bit different. What I mean by that is they don't have a Caleb Williams. They don't have even a Spencer Rattler, a Jalen Hurts, a Kyler Murray, somebody who's just really going to take the entire team on their shoulders. But I think that might actually be a good thing. I in a way, compare it to what Ohio State is doing, bringing in Will Howard as more of a game manager with some running ability. Well, Miller Moss is a fourth-year player for USC. He's been in that system each of the past 2 years as well under Lincoln Riley. And I think that he's going to be able to really from the pocket kind of manage the game. I don't think that he's going to be a player who's going to be asked to have 5,000 total yards, score 50 touchdowns or anything like that. But the other piece of it, the thing that I'm most interested by, and some of this just comes down to what Lincoln Riley decides, they invested in a big way on the defensive side of the ball. They hired Matt Entz away from North Dakota State as essentially a head coach of the defense. They hired D'Anton Lynn from UCLA to be their defensive coordinator. They hired Eric Henderson, who was Aaron Donald's defensive line coach with the Los Angeles Rams. And they hired Doug Belk, who was a former defensive coordinator at Houston. So this is a stacked defensive staff if Lincoln Riley gets out of their way and lets them work. The big question for them is going to be, I think that it's so difficult to play excellent defense when you play a really fast pace of offense, when you're scoring so quickly, having your defense be on the field for long stretches. I'm going to be curious now, with more of a game manager at quarterback, are you going to be able to slow down the game, be a bit more balanced, and put your defense in a better position to succeed? I think that Lincoln Riley has the capability of doing that, but we won't really know until this opener against LSU.
That game has been circled for me for so long. Hearing, USC try to get out of that game and LSU being like, no, only increased how interested I was in it. So that week one game should be great. And, I think the big storyline, though, in the Big Ten is it's really all about Oregon and Ohio State. They feel like they're just a cut above everybody else. Ohio State, you could argue, has the best roster in the country. It seems like a lot of people are picking for Ohio State to win the Big Ten. But is there a world where Oregon potentially wins the Big Ten, and what has to happen in order for that to take place?
Oh, it's very possible. I think that these two teams are on a collision course, not just on October 12th, which should be maybe the game of the year in college football, but I think that they also should be kind of ahead above the rest of the Big Ten. I include Penn State, I include Michigan, I include USC. Like, these should be the two teams that are playing for a Big Ten championship at the end of the year. And so, look, when you look at Ohio State, this is an Ohio State team that I think is going to be dominant on the defensive side of the ball and have enough skill talent on offense to really make things work. I think that Oregon is going to have to be even more balanced than that to have a chance to contend with Ohio State. Because, look, their top-end talent is really, really good. It's top 5 in college football. But like you mentioned, Ohio State's might be top 1. The thing that I think you also have to like is that both these teams ironically added Big 12 transfers who are heading into their 5th year of starting at quarterback. I think Dylan Gabriel just gives them a little bit more upside at the position than what Will Howard does for Ohio State. So it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch all year long. Again, these teams are absolutely on a collision course. I would be shocked if frankly, not only the winner of this game certainly is going to be, I think, the number 1 or 2 seed. I think the loser of this game is pretty much locked in to be number 5 or number 6 as well in the playoff ranking. So Oregon certainly has the depth and the high-end talent to make it happen, but Ohio State certainly you have to, I think, frame as the favorite heading into the year.
Joined by Shehan Jayarajah of CBS Sports, talking a little college football. How many teams realistically from the Big Ten do you have potentially making the college football playoff? I think the max is 4 with Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan. Anyone else who could potentially sneak in there?
Yeah, it's interesting. The way that I've sort of framed it to myself when trying to project playoffs is I think the SEC and the Big Ten, year in and year out, are going to have 8 combined spots in the college football playoff. And most years I expect it's going to be 4 and 4, but what's so tough about this team, now I will preface, I'm a little lower on Michigan than most. I think that they're going to be good, but they're going to be more of a 9-win team good than potentially an 11 or 12-win team good. And if Michigan isn't a playoff caliber team, like let's just say hypothetically, it's hard to see the other team who's going to jump up into that top 11. Like the three at the top, you mentioned them: Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. These are maybe three of the top 7 teams in the country. If Michigan's not number 9 like we have them, I don't know exactly where that next Big Ten team is. Is it Iowa having a chance to go 11-1? I don't know exactly. USC, I think, in future years will have a chance to be that team, but I don't see them there this time around. Same with Washington, with how much they have to rebuild. I think that this could be a year where the Big Ten only gets 3 in, and again, I think that's going to be unusual for the playoff heading forward.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on Michigan. They're kind of similar to Washington. They've got to replace a lot of guys that, left either for the NFL or for another program. So I think there's going to be 3 teams. I got to be honest. The idea of Penn State making the playoff really upsets me. I was looking at their schedule. It's a bunch of cupcakes. They've got 2 relatively tough games. I know that they play USC, and then I think they play either Ohio State or Michigan. I can't remember which.
Yeah,
but
Ohio State, yes.
How do you think how do you think the committee is going to go about weighing that? Because I think part of conference realignment that's awesome is we get to see Oregon and Ohio State play in Eugene, which is going to be great. Like you said, like that could be the game of the year. But the other side of that is like more teams. There's also going to be some lesser teams in there as well. And then we see Penn State, who has a relatively easy schedule. Like if they go 10-2 and they don't have any like resume boosting wins, how do you think the committee is going to go about evaluating those teams?
Well, I think realistically, if you are a 10-win Big Ten team, you are more likely than not going to be in the college football playoff. Now, some of that might be put to the test this year, right? Because like Rutgers has a really easy schedule, Iowa has a really easy schedule, but overall, I do think that if you win 10 games in the Big Ten, you have a really good chance to be in. And here's the other thing that I'll say is that Penn State is obviously nowhere close to what Michigan was the past couple of years. They're nowhere close to Ohio State and Oregon this year. But this is kind of why the expanded playoff exists, right? Is because they've had these roadblocks that are essentially impossible to get over in the Big Ten. And, when you put them against, let's say, the non-Georgia tier of the SEC, well, how do they match up with Texas, or how do they match up with Ole Miss? We certainly got to see that a little bit last year, but how do they match up with Missouri, for example? To me, I think that they're going to get a lot of credibility to be in. I think that again, as long as they don't get absolutely embarrassed by Ohio State, they're going to be in. I think that they're going to deserve to be in. And the other piece too is, let's say that they come in as a 7 seed and they're hosting a home game. Well, like they absolutely have a chance to win a game against the 10 seed in the college football playoff. And I think that would be a huge just like reputation boost for this program if they prove, look, maybe we can't compete at the very, 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 very top of the Big Ten and college football, but we can compete with anybody in that second tier. And I think that makes really Penn State one of the biggest winners of the expanded college football playoff.
Yeah, I agree. Like when the expansion happened, I was like, Penn State, definitely a winner. Kind of the look, I agree with the premise of, look, if you win 10 games in the Big Ten or the SEC, then you're probably one of the 12 best teams in the country. I was just kind of curious your thoughts on the scheduling of it, because like you said, there are some other teams in the Big Ten that have some lighter schedules, and I'm very interested to see how the playoff committee kind of navigates that whole part of figuring out who's in and who's out. Once again, joined by Shehan Jayarajah of CBS Sports, talking a little college football. When we think of disruptors in different conferences, I oftentimes just think about who are the better coaches. And in the Big Ten, we've got Luke Fickell going into year 2 at Wisconsin, and we've got Matt Rule going into year 2 at Nebraska. And, Fickell's doing an entire overhaul there at Wisconsin in terms of how they play football. Matt Rule doing something similar at Nebraska, although not as much following Scott Frost. Which one of those 2 coaches, because I think they're both excellent coaches, which one do you think kind of gets that program rolling first?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I like the comparison of these 2 coaches. Like you said, 2 of the best in college football. I think it's going to be Matt Rule's Cornhuskers. This was a team last year that still was in so many ways bitten by that close game bug. And I think that there's a couple of reasons for why I think Nebraska struggled in those games. Some of it is that I don't think they've had consistent playmakers on offense. I think that they've had turnover-prone players at the quarterback position. And look, they're going to be starting a true freshman this year in Dylan Raiola. Certainly talent-wise, he's as good as it gets. I mean, when you look even at the past 20 years of Nebraska football, but maybe he's going to have some of those turnover issues as a true freshman stepping into this role. But I think that you have to look at a couple pieces. One, defensively, they took just an incredible step in year one under defensive coordinator Tony White. And I think that they'll only continue to improve on that side of the ball, get better, be one of the better units, I think, in the Big Ten on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, like, they just have so many more playmakers than what we've seen in recent years. Headlined, of course, by Dylan Raiola. And their schedule also is not too bad. I think that this is a team that absolutely, I mean, look, they have the longest bowl drought in the power conferences. That's going to end this year. I feel very confident saying that. But I think that this should be a team that also should get into that 8 to 9 win range, have a chance to maybe pull an upset or two. And, when I look at Wisconsin, they're turning the keys over to Tyler Van Dyke. And I just still don't know how I feel about how this offensive system under Phil Longo has worked in this program. Not necessarily because I don't think it can work, but just trying to find that complement of, the dairy rate, as they call it, mixed with what Luke Fickell wants to do developmentally on the defensive side of the ball. It just, to me, is a little bit of a square peg in a round hole. Now, I think that we saw some adjustment from Phil Longo in year one down the stretch, trying to maximize and emphasize some of the things that Wisconsin has done well in the past, leaning on that running game, for example. But I'm curious philosophically, what does Phil Longo see as a successful unit at Wisconsin? And trying to find that balance, I think, is just a little bit more complicated. I don't know if they have the personnel to the same extent that I think that Nebraska might have the personnel right now. So I lean Nebraska, but, again, like you said, these coaches are phenomenal. I think they'll eventually have success.
Yeah, I think eventually it'll come, but like you said with Nebraska and Matt Rule, like they just seem to have a little bit more talent, which so you would think that they get it rolling a little bit quicker. Two more questions for you, Shehan, and I'll let you go. Once again, joined by Shehan Jayarajah of CBS Sports, talking some college football. So there are only 3 active coaches in college football right now that have won a national title: Mac Brown, Kirby Smart, and Dabo Swinney. And the face of college football for the past 15 years has been Nick Saban, and he's no longer around. Which one of these kind of newer coaches do you think has perhaps an opportunity to be the new face of college football, as the great Nick Saban is now gone?
Well, I think that certainly right now that answer is Kirby Smart, but like you said, 2 national championships. But when I look at some of the coaches who are coming up, there's a few that come to mind. I think that Kalen DeBoer, it's so tough taking over for the guy, but Kalen DeBoer has just won everywhere. And I think that in some ways Alabama made a gamble by hiring a coach without Southeastern experience, who I think in a way that's very dissimilar to, people are going to make the Brian Harsin comparison of a guy coming in from the West. But I think that Kalen DeBoer is just much more open-minded to doing things that work. I think some of that coming from the small college level as well. I think that he has the exact right attitude, the exact right approach to continue that train at Alabama. So he's up there. Texas coach Steve Sarkisian, of course, after what he's done there in Texas. I mean, just realistically, when this program is rolling, they are a story that's bigger than college football in a lot of ways. And I think Steve Sarkisian is building his way up to that point. And look, he's gotten a lot of crap and deserved it for the last 3 years. But college football history is littered with coaches who have gotten really close and failed and eventually gotten through. And of course, I'm talking about Ryan Day at Ohio State. They have, to me, the best team in the country this year. They have a really good chance, I think, to win a national championship. And if Ryan Day is able to put everything together and ultimately win the title this year and put his name on that list of coaches, be the 4th active coach in college football with a national championship, I think that just fundamentally changes the way that we talk about this guy.
Yeah, that I completely agree. And it's like the thing around Ryan Day isn't if he's going to break through. It's a matter of when, because like you said, college football history is littered with coaches who have gotten close and eventually broke through. And Ryan Day is definitely that guy. And it's my defense of Ryan Day is I think it's really hard to knock a guy who consistently loses to Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Jim Harbaugh, 3 of the better coaches, in the college football landscape. So I'm with you. If I had to make a bet today as to who I think is going to win the title, I would pick Ohio State. But we'll see. Last question for Shehan, and then I will let you go. Are you excited for any of these week 0 games, or are you just happy that college football is back?
Well, the way that I've described it is like this to me as a fan is a practice run, right? You get kind of one real game. I think Florida State, Georgia Tech, we're actually going to learn some things from that game. I expect Florida State to win, but I think that we'll learn a lot in the way that they win and how competitive it is and how much Georgia Tech's able to hang. But more than that, I mean, this is just getting back in the rhythm. It's remembering how to, get your screens up, how to flip your channels, how to check your score app. So from my perspective, there's only one game that's really even halfway worth paying attention to. But I think that it just gets you back in the rhythm. And the other thing, too, is one of the cool things about week 0 is that people will be watching. I think of a team like SMU, which opens against Nevada. Like, people are going to get a chance to see just how good Preston Stone is at quarterback for SMU. So it's kind of like, it's like an appetizer to the real season. It's what do they call that fancy restaurant? Like an amuse-bouche. That's what week 0 is to college football.
Yeah, it is. I'm so glad you brought up SMU. I think that they are a sleeping giant in the world of college football. They're a rich school in Eastern Texas. Like, they're in Dallas. Like, they are in the heart of college football country, and with the NIL stuff, I think they'll be pretty good here in a few years. Shehan, dude, thanks for your time. You were great, as always. Hopefully, we have many more conversations about college football as the year, starts up tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it, man. I will talk to you later. That is Shehan Jayarajah of CBS Sports. He covers college football, does a ton of great writing on CBSSports.com. Head over there, check it out. He's awesome. Great guy, even better writer. When we come back here in 4 minutes, the Colts played football last night, so we got to talk about it. Thoughts on the Colts-Bengals game last night comes your way here in 4 minutes.
Often imitated, never duplicated. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Tickets, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hope you guys are having a nice Friday. It is Friday. I almost forgot, but it is. Zack Gray joining me next segment. He's going to give away some college football week 0 picks. If you want to make a little bit of money, make sure you bet those. He does an outstanding job. He's got algorithms and formulas. He's joining me next segment, 11:40, to give away those picks. Now, I want to talk about Anthony Richardson last night. I thought he played fine. Okay. I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was terrible. Nothing overly concerning, I think, at least. Okay. And Anthony Richardson was, of course, asked about his performance last night. Here's what the Colts starting quarterback had to say about how he performed.
Decent. Got 2 touchdowns. No, I'm joking. The interception, man, that was a tough one. You know, communication right there. Granson saw something, and I saw something else. We just got to be on the same page right there. The fumble, man, they preach 2 hands on the ball in the pocket, almost every day in the QB room. And I know they're going to tell me that, when we get back in the meetings in the next couple of days. But I feel like it was a decent game. Just me, being back out there, just filling it out.
Anthony Richardson there talking about how he felt like he played. And I like that he made a joke. I won't lie to you. I like it. I think it shows that he's comfortable. I think that also shows that, like, he knows what he did wrong and that the mistakes are fixable. And the mistakes are fixable. We'll get to those here in a sec. I want to talk about that first drive because he was awesome that first drive. You can say whatever you want about how it was against backups and, whatever. You can talk about the interception and the fumble and everything that happened after, but you cannot deny that he was near perfect on that first drive. He would have been perfect if Ogletree had caught that ball in the end zone because that was a good throw, hit him in the hands. That's a catch that an NFL player should make. He was awesome. He was incredible. Ball was on time, on target. He sat in the pocket and delivered the football accurately. Okay, he had a play where he identified a blitz, audible, hit Alec Pierce on a 3rd and 10, and they got a first down. That is what starting caliber NFL quarterbacks look like. The touchdown pass that he had to A.D. Mitchell, beautiful. Worked through all of his reads, bought time in the pocket because the Bengals blitzed, finds A.D. Mitchell underneath, and A.D. Mitchell makes a play after the catch, powering his way into the end zone. That is what starting caliber NFL quarterbacks look like. 7 for 8, 65 yards and a touchdown. Was accurate on that first drive. I mean, he was great. He made good decisions. It was fun to watch. Okay? He was fun to watch. From that point on, though, and this is what people are going to harp on because for whatever reason, we like to be negative. From that point on, he looked like a quarterback that had only started 23 games in his life before last night. Okay, 23 starts from high school until now, and this goes into what I said yesterday. Anthony Richardson is going to be up and down this season because he is behind where most quarterbacks are when they enter the NFL. Okay, in terms of experience, man, he's behind everyone. Bo Nix is a rookie this year. Bo Nix started twice as many games in college than Anthony Richardson has in his life. Bo Nix should be a better quarterback right now because he just has more experience. Anthony Richardson is a long-term investment, okay? He's not going to look like Peyton Manning did in year 2 and lead the Colts to a 13-3 record. It's not going to happen, okay, because he's raw and he's uncoached. Like, this is part of the process of bringing along a young quarterback, no matter how talented they are. And that first drive was awesome. Couldn't have looked any better. And that should give us confidence in the type of quarterback that Anthony Richardson could be at some point. Okay, I thought he looked good. I thought the most encouraging thing was he made good reads. He made good decisions on where to go with the football. Okay, and part of this Colts offense was handcuffed last night. The quarterback run game was not an option. Okay, they clearly told Anthony Richardson before the game, don't run, stay in the pocket, throw the football when the regular season starts, then we'll start to run the ball. And then there were some mistakes that were made. Okay, the interception, though, doesn't bother me in the slightest. Okay, he and Kylan Granson had a miscommunication. Clearly, option route. Anthony Richardson thought he was going to go one way. Granson went the other. And then, bada boom, pick 6. It happens. Okay, it happens. That's why you play these guys in the preseason so that you can figure out where the miscommunications are. You can go watch film and you can correct them. Okay, the fumble that Anthony Richardson had, like the next time he'll probably put two hands on it and it won't be a big deal. Okay, those aren't the mistakes that bothered me. The mistakes that bothered me were some of the inaccurate throws that he made, because he made a couple of inaccurate throws, and that's obviously, not what you want, right? He overthrew A.D. Mitchell when he was open. Steichen said after the game that there was a miscommunication there. A.D. Mitchell should have ran his route a little bit deeper. I don't care, though. Like, he's open. There's not a guy within, 3 yards of him. Lay the ball out in front and, hit him in stride and let's have a big play. Like, those are throws that he has to make. I thought that the ball that he threw low to Michael Pittman Jr. over the middle of the field, I thought Michael Pittman Jr. should have caught it, but that ball also should have been thrown better. He left it low. Like, that can't happen. Okay? Like, these are the throws that he has to hit. Okay? Those are the misses to me that are concerning, not the miscommunication that led to an interception. And while, we're all going to sit around and be worried and, about the accuracy, Shane Steichen clearly isn't worried about the accuracy at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys are going to miss throws. You know what I mean? Guys are going to miss throws. I don't care if you're a second-year player or a 15-year vet. Like, guys are going to miss throws. So I don't have any concerns with that.
Shane Steichen there talking about how he has no concerns over Anthony Richardson's lack of accuracy in yesterday's game. And look, he knows more football than I do. I love that he scoffed at the question. Okay, because Shane Steichen is a pretty even-keel, relaxed guy. When you hear him do his press conferences, he doesn't show much emotion. He just kind of answers the questions really quickly, and then he moves on. Okay, it's really boring, which is good. Like, head coach press conferences should be boring. But man, not that answer. Scoffing at the question of, are you concerned about Anthony Richardson's accuracy? And look, I mean, he knows way more about football than I do, but I'd be at least a little bit concerned of, like, hey man, like, A.D. Mitchell was wide open and he missed. But to be fair, like, we're going to see Patrick Mahomes miss throws this year. We're going to see Lamar Jackson miss throws this year. We're going to see Josh Allen miss throws this year. And those are arguably the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's right. It does happen. When we look at, the overall picture, though, a lot of the balls that Anthony Richardson threw were accurate. Okay. Like, his 8 completions were all accurate. They were good throws. Michael Pittman Jr. should have caught one. Ogletree should have caught that ball in the end zone. Okay. So, like, even the balls that weren't perfectly accurate still should have been caught for the most part. Really, the only 2 uncatchable balls that he threw was he threw one behind one of the running backs on a check down, and then the ball that he overthrew A.D. Mitchell on. I thought, big picture, I thought that Anthony Richardson played well. All in all, I thought that, for the most part, he did what we all expected, right? There were some really good highs, and there were also some lows that weren't super great. But that's what young quarterbacks often look like in the NFL. Okay, Anthony Richardson is once again a long-term project. He's not a short-term going to be great right away guy. Okay, if he was, he wouldn't have been the 3rd quarterback off the board. He would have been the 1st quarterback off the board. Okay, so that is the type of guy that the Colts drafted, and as a fan base, like, we're going to have to be patient and wait for him to be brought along. When we come back here in about 4 minutes or so, Zack Gray is going to join me. He's got college football bets for week 0. You want him. He is one of the best. If you want to make some money this weekend, stick around. Coming your way, 4 minutes. Zack Gray joining me here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Zack Gray, sports gambling professional, joins the show. Zack, you told me off the air. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest. You did not watch the game last night.
That's true. I should have. Nobody's playing. I'm a little upset with Cincinnati sports right now as a whole. So, and plus I had a road game at South Carolina last night with my Southern Miss Golden Eagles. So had to take care of business.
Okay. Hey, I get it. That's a valid excuse to not watch. For most listeners who don't know, my guy Zach, he lives in Cincinnati. He's from the area. He's a Bengals fan. So I was kind of hoping that you watched. But hey, it's all good. With all due respect, you have great football opinions, but we bring you on here to talk gambling, and we have games to gamble on tomorrow, baby. How excited are you? How excited are you for Week 0?
I'm really excited. I'm more excited that I feel like I put a lot of work and time into the algorithm and the projections this year. So really excited to get going.
Man, me too. So I want to make sure I'm not giving away too much here. You're giving away all your picks for college football Week 0 and Week 1 for free, right?
Yes. All my picks, all my projections will be on my Patreon, but I'll also post the thread to Twitter. So if you guys want to get a little taste, see what it's like, how it's set up, how you guys can use it, it'll be available at my Twitter at ZG the Grapevine.
Okay, let's go. That's grape, by the way, not great. Just so that the people know. I'm excited
like
for
the fruit.
Yeah, the fruit, a grapefruit. I love grapes. Okay, Dan and I, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Do grapes make you gassy whenever you eat them?
I can't say that I've had that experience. No, is that a common thing?
That's the thing for me and Dan.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
You guys are weird though, so it's like maybe it's just a you thing.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's just it's just an Indy Sports Ticket thing. If you host a show on Indy Sports Ticket, it's a requirement that grapes have to make you gassy.
I think if you're an Anthony Richardson hater, I think that you fall into the grapes or gassy category. If not, then you're good. You can eat grapes, anytime, any place.
I wouldn't say I'm a hater. I've been really nice to him today.
I've seen a lot of people just be like, yeah, that's it. I'm out. I don't think he's it.
Dude, okay. You're going to get me going here because that has been the YouTube chat today. Once again, I'm joined by my good friend and professional sports gambler, Zack Gray. He's giving out picks for Week 0 of the college football season. So head over to Twitter at ZG the Grapevine and follow him there if you want to win a little bit of money. So I thought he played fine yesterday, right? First drive, 7 of 8, touchdown pass, should have been 7 for 7. They had a guy drop a ball in the end zone. And then he throws a pick 6 because the tight end runs an option route and Richardson thought he was going to do one thing and the tight end did another. And so there's a pick 6 like that. Like that's an easy mistake to fix. That's why you play in the preseason, to fix stuff like that. And then, so people were upset about that. And then he fumbled the ball because he didn't have 2 hands on it when he was in the pocket. That's an easy fix. Like I thought he played fine yesterday, but hey man, what do I know, Yeah,
it's just one of those things where as the years go on and as preseason is only 3 games and, you don't see a lot of the dress rehearsal type deals that you used to see. I just don't know. I just don't take a whole lot of stock in anything in the preseason anymore. Do I wish that certain teams played their guys at least a little bit to get them in the rhythm of, getting to the stadium, going through all their pregame stuff, knowing that they're about to hit real live action at some point? Yes. But as far as taking anything away from the preseason, it's turning into summer league basketball for me. None of it really matters.
Okay, fair enough. Summer league, that's actually a really good comp to compare to summer league basketball. You get excited about nothing for guys who are going to play in the G League. That's totally fair. Did you see my Galaxy Brain Joe Burrow take yesterday?
No, but I'm sure I'll hate it.
So I think this is satire. This is sarcasm. I think that the biggest mistake of Joe Burrow's career is going to be him dyeing his hair blonde. Because when we look at the history of NFL quarterbacks, only one of the 10 best quarterbacks ever has blonde hair. And so I think that there's something about being a blonde that just doesn't allow guys to be franchise level quarterbacks.
If you have blonde hair at the podium in a post game interview, that's not very quarterbackial.
It's not.
I don't know.
Dyeing your hair bleach blonde that bright is very much a look at me type of thing. And I don't think that franchise quarterbacks do that.
So therefore I am out. But we don't have to get into the Burrow thing because I kind of want to talk a little bit, talk about more college football. But the Burrow thing, you know how I feel about him. I think he's fine. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Do I think that he's the best quarterback, or I think he's ultra this or ultra that? No. I think he's got one of the best receivers in football. I think his head coach is criminally underrated. Agreed. I think his defense is criminally underrated. But yeah, I think the whole shtick around Joe Burrow is cool for most people. I don't necessarily vibe with it, but I don't hate Joe Burrow. But yeah, that I had to get that out because I'll be tweeting out Joe Burrow truther stuff and putting the accountability on Joe Burrow this year. So I just want to make sure it's well documented that I don't hate him innately. I just am honest about it.
Hey, that's the best way to be. Once again, joined by my good friend and professional sports gambler, Zack Gray, to talk a little gambling and a little bit of college football that starts tomorrow. So I had a guy on from CBS earlier, and we talked college football. Are you excited for the games tomorrow, or are you just happy that college football is back on your TV?
You had Shehan on, right?
I did. He's great.
I love him. I used to listen to him and Doug Lemarese on the College Football Survivor show. So that's how I got introduced to him. So That's pretty awesome. But anyway, what was the question? Sorry, I got distracted.
You're good. Yeah. So I asked him, and I'll ask you the same question. Are you excited about like any specific game tomorrow, or are you just more happy that college football is back on your TV? Because I think I'm more of the latter.
Yeah, I think I'm actually, and teaser alert, I think I'm really excited for Georgia Tech, Florida State. I do have a play in that game. I'm pretty confident in it. But yeah, I'm actually excited because I know we had kind of talked about this, off air about how we feel about Florida State. You're kind of not all in on them. You don't really have the confidence in DJ. And me, on the other hand, I think, going into his last season of college football, I think he's got all the talent in the world. I think he built his confidence last year at a smaller school. I think he's ready to kind of assume that role again. And low key, Jonathan, like Heisman candidate, might be one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. That's my expectations for him. And I know that's high, but he has the pedigree. He has the physicality. He has the arm strength. He has everything he needs. I think he's going to a school that has more talent now again. I think he's learned a lot over his time, and I'm excited to see him play. And honestly, I know that there's some people that like Georgia Tech this year. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's a good matchup for them. And yeah, I'm just excited for that game in particular. One for the bet, one because of, long-term outlook. But I'm not going to watch Hawaii, Delaware State. Let's be real.
I probably won't either. I am going to watch SMU and Nevada, though, because I think SMU is going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah, they moved to the ACC in my dynasty and made the playoffs 2 years in a row. So if that's any indication.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Once again, joined by my good friend, Zack Gray, professional sports gambler. So I made a wish list earlier in the show of things that I hope to see this year in college football. Number one is for IU to be relevant. That way I have an excuse to talk more about college football. It's also, like you're an Ohio State fan. Like when your college football team is good, it just brings you this crazy pleasure that only Notre Dame fans in the state of Indiana have gotten to experience. And I want for IU fans to be a part of that. One of the things that I have on here, though, is I want an intense Heisman race. I feel like we haven't had one in a long time. I know I'm wrong on that, but you mentioned DJ Uiagalelei, who's going to play tomorrow, potentially being a Heisman guy. I like Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. Are there any other guys out there who could potentially make a push for the Heisman? Probably, I forget his name, whoever's playing quarterback at USC, Because if you play quarterback for Lincoln Riley, you have an opportunity to win the Heisman.
Miller Moss, I think. But,
that's right.
I selfishly, I would like to see a Quinshon Judkins in the Heisman race. But if we're being honest, I don't know why people are sleeping on Jalen Milroe and DeBoer's offense.
Yeah.
And his program. Like, if I had to really pick a favorite, I would say it's Jalen Milroe. And I forget what the odds are. I think he's up there, but I think he's probably the front runner right now. And then, like I said, you have DJ. There's a couple other people, in the Big Ten that I'm interested to see, but don't want to embarrass myself by saying their names. Like I have this wishful thought that Caleb Downs is going to be in a Heisman race somehow as a defensive player.
He's really good.
That's me just being super excited that he's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Are we haters for not mentioning Shadur Sanders' name?
No, I actually wish that I did, because I like Colorado. I like everything about Colorado. You know how I am. Like, I'll have my own opinion. I'll have my own thought process, but I do sway towards, like, if someone's getting hated on really, really hard, I will usually come to their defense and like be like the opposite. Not because, like, I'm doing that willingly, but just something about, like, unnecessary hate just grinds my gear. So I'm all in on Colorado and Prime and Shador and Travis Hunter and, their revamped offensive line. And there is a real chance they start 0-3.
There is, dude. I think they're going to get pushed around by North Dakota State. I'm going to smile through the whole thing. One of the other things that I had on my list was,
you're a hater.
One of the things on my wish list was I hope Colorado loses every game that they play. Can't stand them, man. Can't stand them. It feels, maybe this is just like me being a bit of a college football purist. I'm not a fan of the playoff expansion, and I'm just not a fan of the way that Deion Sanders is trying to build that program. It's like all transfer portal, which, like, I get is an important part. But I think that this is just my opinion. I think that the best way to rebuild a college football program is to bring in freshmen, establish a culture, and then bring in transfers to, like, shore up the edges, if that makes sense, of your roster. Like, that's the way that I think it should be done. I think that's how you build and establish a culture.
But Jay Smith.
And I think I know
Smith.
What.
Go ahead. What am I going to say?
I was going to say, and I think I know, because I've led UNLV to back-to-back national titles.
That's hilarious. What I'll say to that is, like, how do we know that's not the plan? The idea that we were gonna, what do we want out of this team, out of Prime? Like, what do we want? Do we want him to come in and suck for 4 years and build up this culture and build up this freshman pipeline that may or may not develop, or do we want him to start winning immediately?
Look,
and either way he did it, the hate of that he's receiving, it was either going to be he's a trash coach, he can't win, they don't win, or it was going to be he's not doing it the right way and he's bringing in all these portal guys and there's no culture. Like, either way he would have done it, the same result would have happened. Well,
the thing is, once again, joined by my good friend and professional sports gambler, Zack Gray. The thing is, like, I think the other thing that I don't like and has turned me off to him is that there are some, like, Colorado diehards out there, even though they went 4-8 last year. You know what I mean? And it's just, and they've revamped the entire roster again, and people are expecting a different result. And I don't think that they're going to get it. I think more of my disdain for Colorado is not based in the way that, Coach Prime has decided to rebuild the program, but it's more of like people think they're going to be good just because he's there. And that clearly wasn't the case last year.
But if they win 6 games and go to a bowl game, like, that's year over year improvement.
It is.
Like, but that's not going to be looked at it like that. It's not like, it's going to be, another disappointing season. Is it time to look elsewhere? Is Coach Prime not the guy? Like, we're going to take the year over year improvement as if this program was built up and it's being broken down by Deion Sanders instead of what it is and what we give every coach the right to do, which is build up a program. So, like I said, I think everything that you're saying could be the same thought process, just on the opposite side, and I think that's what would happen.
Yeah, here's my thing. I think I'm a little bit different from everyone else. Like, if they go 6-6 and make a bowl, I will concede and say that I was wrong, because you're right. Like, that is year-over-year improvement, and Colorado's never been good at football. So if they make a bowl game, I can't tell you the last time Colorado made a bowl game. So if they do that, like, I will concede and say that I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. I don't think – I just – and I don't know if you saw the article from Athlon where they basically published a bunch of stories with anonymous quotes on guns in the locker room and not great things happening. That, I think, is also part of why I'm a little out on Colorado.
Ugh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's rough. Like I said, it's a bunch of anonymous quotes, so you got to be careful with what's real and what's not, but it didn't sound super great. I am up against it in terms of time. Do you want to give out any picks for tomorrow? It's your stuff, so I'll let you do it if you want to or not.
Yeah, I have Florida State -10 tomorrow. A lot of sharp money's on Georgia Tech, but I don't care. My projections say Florida State wins by 16. You can check out the score projection for all 4 games on the Twitter, but yeah, Florida State -10.
At ZG the Grapevine on Twitter. Zach, I got to run. Thanks for your time, man.
See you, Jay Smith.
So that is Zack Gray. Once again, follow him on Twitter at ZG the Grapevine. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way in 4 minutes. I will talk to you on Monday after week 0 of the college football season. Talk to you guys 10 a.m. on Monday.